Welcome everyone. We are back again reading more articles from the SCP Foundation. The articles we'll be reading today are SCP-102, property of Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, SCP-103, The Never Hungry Man, SCP-104, The Lonely Ball, and SCP-105, Iris. Now without further ado, let's get in. Item number: SCP-102, Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-102 is currently in the possession of Marshall Carter and Dark Limited because ownership appears to be a binding, deed-based legalistic agreement independent of eminent domain. SCP-102 cannot be transferred to Foundation control for the foreseeable future. Description: SCP-102 is a pair of standalone condominium-style beach houses located at
Data redacted.
Currently owned by Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, through the use of a dummy corporation known as Geyser Housing Associates, and rented to MC&D members as a vacation home for those with discerning taste in the eclectic adventures of privileged life. The two share similar properties, although
Data redacted.
SCP-102-1 is the house on the left, number
Data redacted.
When a person whose name is not on the lease for SCP-102-1 enters the building, its interior appears as that of a crumbling, empty house, with the prone body of the current leaseholder inside the doorway if the house is occupied. Forensic tests on materials recovered from within the house show it to have been abandoned since the mid to late 70s. All photographs taken within SCP-102-1 corroborate this, regardless of the lease status of the photographer. However, when the leaseholder of the house enters via the front door, they find themselves in a fairly normal and well-kept condominium decorated with a nautical theme. Often, they report a sensation of dizziness upon entering, which fades within a few seconds. When the leaseholder of SCP-102-1 exits the building, they become what is, to all intents and purposes, an incorporeal spiritual manifestation capable of willful invisibility and moving through solid objects unimpeded. They enter and remain in this state each time they leave the house for the duration of the lease. At the conclusion of their lease, or at any time they willfully break the terms of said lease, they fall briefly unconscious and awaken on the floor at the front entrance of SCP-102-1, which appears to them as it does to any non-lease holder. No bodies have been observed being removed from the house prematurely. SCP-102-2 is the house on the right. Number:
Data redacted.
At first glance, the effects of SCP-102-2 are identical to SCP-102-1. However,
Data redacted.
advanced decay, followed by
Data redacted.
leaseholders of SCP-102-2 who do not exit the building promptly at the cessation of their contract are to be declared missing, presumed dead, 30 days following the end of their lease. Leaseholders who do exit the building are to be administered a regimen of steroid-based enhancers to counter the
Data redacted.
deteriorated constantly for signs of psychological aberration. Addendum: all information in this report is unverified, though details are consistent from multiple sources. The content of this report was taken from interviews with D-Class personnel numbers 1070869, death sentence for rape and murder, 1033654, life without parole, aggravated assault on a minor, and 3370633, death sentence,
Data redacted.
all of whom were frequent tenants of SCP-102-1 prior to incarceration. It is theorized that D1033654 made use of SCP-102-1's effect to commit.
Data redacted.
See interview logs 102-1/2/3 for full transcripts. End of SCP. Item number: SCP-103. Object Class Euclid. Status: Recontained. Special Containment Procedures. Previously had written, SCP-103 does not require any specific or strict containment procedures. If SCP-103 begins to show any signs of distress or erratic behavior, SCP-103 is to be moved to a 5-meter by 5-meter room while awaiting medical examination. This is no longer applicable. See Addendum 103-A and 103-B. What is now written is SCP-103 is to be maintained in a medically induced vegetative state to ensure compliance. It is to be kept alive with regular
Data redacted.
certain that the incisions are not allowed to heal, keeping SCP-103's stomach cavity exposed at all times. Class 4 Foundation Restricted Medical Kit is to be employed by all personnel interacting with SCP-103. All
Data redacted.
from SCP-103 are to be incinerated. At no time should any personnel come into unprotected contact with any object or substance removed from SCP-103. Description: SCP-103 appears to be an average human male in his mid-40s. Subject has been measured at 190 centimeters in height and weighing in at 100 kilograms. Subject was born in 19
Data redacted.
on.
Data redacted.
The subject has no known living relatives at this time. Subject checked into a small local hospital in mid-April at approximately 9:30 p.m. The subject explained to the doctor on staff that he had not eaten for weeks due to not feeling any effects of hunger. After an initial examination, SCP-103 appeared to be perfectly healthy despite his condition. SCP-103 continued to explain to the staff that he didn't feel any need to eat. Previously, it was written, upon obtaining and studying SCP-103, it appears that any solid or liquid coming in contact with the inside of SCP-103's stomach disappears instantaneously. Despite this condition, SCP-103 appears to be perfectly healthy. At this point, it is unknown how SCP-103 obtains the nutrients that a human body would need to survive, or where the food ends up after consumption. SCP-103 does not expel human waste. SCP-103 has reported becoming thirsty, as a normal human would. Due to this, a standard cooler with 12 bottles of fresh spring water are to be delivered to SCP-103's room at 6:30 every morning. SCP-103 has shown no signs of hostility towards our staff, occasionally engaging in conversation and board games provided by the staff. And the reason for this section's removal is contained within Addendum 103-B. Addendum 103-A. All testing to date has been inconclusive. It is unlikely that further testing will teach us anything new. Research terminated. Subject released, but to remain under observation and report for mandatory medical examination on a monthly basis. SCP-103 has been provided with a means of contacting Foundation personnel in the event of a changing condition. Research logs are to remain on file. Addendum 103-B. On
Data redacted.
SCP-103 reported to a Foundation medical facility. SCP-103 was observed at this time to be vomiting copious amounts of blood in excess of
Data redacted.
liters. This blood did not match SCP-103's blood type, nor did it.
Data redacted.
A stomach pump procedure was attempted, but failed due to the volume of blood being produced. Within
Data redacted.
hours, blood flow ceased. Shortly thereafter, Foundation medical personnel initiated an exploratory surgical procedure. Upon opening SCP-103's stomach cavity, Dr. Yun noted several protrusions along the outer lining of the stomach, and an approximation of a human face. When Dr. Yun attempted a biopsy, the protrusions suddenly retreated, implying that they were the imprint of a foreign body inside the stomach. Dr. Yun was instructed to continue the exploratory procedure and performed admirably. His reluctance was noted on record and will be submitted as evidence in the hearings of Supervisor
Data redacted.
court-martial procedure. When the stomach was opened,
Data redacted.
ilear to cystoid
Data redacted.
fatalities, including Dr. Yun, research assistant Sims, and research assistant Reinfeld. Medical supervisor
Data redacted.
negligence is under review. SCP-103 has been reclassified Euclid and contained with updated containment protocols. End of SCP. Item number SCP-104 Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-104 is currently contained in a steel box with electronic keypad access. Access is to be restricted to Class 3 and higher. Do not allow SCP-104 to come in contact with any living tissue. Any and all interactions with SCP-104 is to be handled via robotic assistance, or with full hazmat suit and gloves. Anyone found to be imprinted by SCP-104 must submit for unimprinting. Failure to do so within 24 hours of exposure will result in termination. Description: SCP-104 is a sphere, 35.5 centimeters or 14 inches around and weighing 2.3 kilograms or 5 pounds. The outside is glass and very smooth, coating the sphere in a layer 6 millimeters (0.2 inches) thick. Under this layer is an extremely intricate design of very thin black and white lines. This inner core is a delicately carved bowl of wood, giving slight texture to the line design. The design itself is unimaginably complex and seems to form something of a Rorschach test, as all viewers seem to have a different interpretation. Movement or a ticking sound from within the sphere has been reported, but at this time is unconfirmed. Whenever a human touches SCP-104 in its unimprinted state, it will imprint on the subject. If the imprinted subject moves more than 9 meters (30 feet) from SCP-104 for more than 5 minutes, SCP-104 will appear within 2 meters or 7 feet of the imprinted subject. This shift appears instantaneous, disappearing and reappearing in less than a nanosecond, regardless of distance or intervening objects. Every hour that the subject remains within 9 meters or 30 feet of SCP-104, it will move 1 foot closer to the subject until it is touching the subject. When SCP-104 is touching its imprinted subject, it will not attempt to move closer. SCP-104 will not exhibit this behavior to non-imprinted subjects and will only imprint on one subject at a time. Thick cloth or metal appears to block the imprinting in most cases. Testing of SCP-104 with multiple instances of SCP-1680 suggests this imprinting is not genetically based, as SCP-104 does not change behaviors when faced with multiple genetically identical subjects. SCP-104 also appears to be indestructible, in that it always appears whole and undamaged after reappearing. Even after being crushed and incinerated, SCP-104 will reappear whole and undamaged if its imprinted subject is outside its minimum range for more than 5 minutes. SCP-104 causes paranoia and anger in most subjects, but this is not an effect of the sphere, as some are wholly unaffected by the constant presence of SCP-104, if slightly annoyed at times. SCP-104 can only be unimprinted if the subject is killed or enters a near-death state. SCP-104 will then enter its unimprinted state until touched. Thick gloves appear to block the imprinting process as long as they are more than 13 millimeters or 0.5 inches thick. SCP-104 was recovered in a flea market from a man carrying it in a bowling bag. The man never identified himself and sold it to Agent
Data redacted.
for a quarter, thanking him profusely before running off. Notes: 104-1108-R. It has been theorized that SCP-104 is some form of extra-dimensional probe or recording device. This appears to be unlikely, as it appears to be made of terrestrial materials and has no means by which to record or observe anything. However, with few other explanations for its odd behavior, the theory is being investigated. Dr.
Data redacted.
End of SCP. Item number: SCP-105. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-105 is implanted with a tracking device and is currently housed at Site-17. SCP-105 is currently allowed Class 3 restricted socialization procedures with approved site personnel, granted based on continued good behavior and cooperation with Foundation personnel. SCP-105's personal camera, designated SCP-105-B, is contained in a locked safe deposit box at Site-19's high-value item storage facility. Standard positive action defenses, explosive, chemical, biological, and memetic, are to be in place at all times while SCP-105-B is within containment. SCP-105 and SCP-105-B, or any other camera, are only allowed to come in contact with approval of the current managing researcher. Description: SCP-105, formerly known as Iris Thompson, is a female human of European descent. Records indicate that SCP-105 was born in
Data redacted.
making her
Data redacted.
years old at the time of acquisition. She has blonde hair and blue eyes, and at the time of this article, is 1.54 meters in height and 50 kilograms in weight. She does not appear to have any out of the ordinary physical characteristics and appears to be, for all intents and purposes, a normal human being in good health. SCP-105-B is a Polaroid one-step express camera manufactured in 1982. SCP-105-B does not appear to have any out-of-the-ordinary physical characteristics and appears to be, for all intents and purposes, a normal Polaroid camera, operating normally for all persons aside from SCP-105. When SCP-105 holds a photograph taken by SCP-105-B, the photograph changes from a still image to that of a real-time image of the location in question. SCP-105 is able to reach through the photograph and manipulate objects within reach of the original point at which the photograph was taken. Persons witnessing this manipulation report seeing a disembodied female hand, determined to be that of SCP-105, reaching out from an invisible portal and carrying out the actions indicated. SCP-105-B and the photographs taken by said camera have no unusual properties when used by any other person. SCP-105 has demonstrated limited ability to manipulate objects through other photographs, but can only achieve fine control using photographs taken through SCP-105-B. So far, SCP-105 has only been able to significantly advance her ability by using photographs taken by SCP-105-B. Appendix 1. Circumstances of Acquisition. SCP-105 was brought to the Foundation's attention shortly after the murder of her boyfriend. SCP-105 claimed to have been on the phone with the victim at the time of his murder, prompting her to hurry to his side. However, telephone records did not correspond to her story, making her suspect in the murder. SCP-105 informed her lawyer that she had, in fact, witnessed the murder through a photograph she had taken of her boyfriend several days prior. The attorney in question disregarded the story and recommended that the subject plead guilty. Subject refused to do so and subsequently told her story in court, offering to demonstrate her ability. This led to Foundation contact. Subject was immediately contained by the Foundation. Foundation personnel retrieved SCP-105-B from SCP-105's home, replacing it with an identical model, and returned it to her. SCP-105's parents were informed that she was killed during the botched escape attempt of another patient while both were in custody of the
Data redacted.
psychiatric care facility. Appendix 2. Excerpt from Interview Log 105-08-4426. Dated
Data redacted.
Doc,
Data redacted.
please give me a brief introduction, including date and place of birth and your name. 105. Okay, my name is Iris Thompson. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona on May 12th.
Data redacted.
Doctor. Good. First question. When did you become aware of your abilities? 105. I'm not sure, but I think I was 10 or 11. I remember because I was looking at a picture of the ocean and I noticed that the waves began moving. Doctor. How did your parents respond when you told them? 105. They just said I had an overactive imagination. Doctor. When did you discover that you were able to manipulate objects through a photograph? 105. It first happened when I was 11, 12 maybe. My family took a trip to the Grand Canyon. I looked through the photo album when we got home, and my hand brushed up against one by accident. When I did, I pushed a rock over the edge, falling into the canyon. I could actually hear it clatter on the way down. Doctor. Go on. 105. I became fascinated with photography after that. Most of the time it didn't work with photographs I took, but my parents got me a Polaroid one-step express camera. I'd been begging them to get it since Christmas. SCP-105 starts smiling. After I got the camera, the photos got easier to interact with. Doctor. This is the camera we refer to as 105-B, your personal camera. 105. Yes, sir. Doctor. How many photos can you focus on at one time? 105. I've gotten up to 10 at once with my personal camera, but I'm sure I could do more eventually. Doctor. What is your impression of your time at the Foundation so far? 105 remains silent. Doctor. Please, do answer. We don't take offense at these things. 105. It's sort of like new prison, new warden. But I know that it's better than what could have happened to me. Doctor. You've been very cooperative during your time here. 105. I'm a pretty well-behaved sort of person. I also like doing experiments. Some of the things with photographs I would never have thought of. Doctor. Do you know why I'm asking you these questions, Iris? 105. No, sir. Doctor. We've been setting up a special program. If it goes through, you'll be occasionally allowed to leave the site and move about in the outside world. All we ask of you in return are a few favors. Are you interested? End log. Addendum 3. History of Service with Mobile Task Force Omega-7. SCP-105 was the second humanoid SCP recruited to Mobile Task Force Omega-7 under the Pandora's Box Initiative. Unlike Team Able, associated with SCP-076-2, which was assigned to strike and capture operations, Team Iris had the primary mission of reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Team Iris carried out over 20 missions in cooperation with the Bowie Commission. These missions were carried out swiftly and without incident. The first disciplinary incident involving SCP-105 involved the escalation of Team Iris missions from reconnaissance to wet work. SCP-105 violently opposed the use of her abilities to carry out assassinations, even after members of the Bowie Commission repeatedly attempted to secure her cooperation. See interview log 105-21-6543. During these events, SCP-105 became emotionally distressed and attempted to deceive Foundation personnel into believing that her anomalous traits had disappeared. Dr.
Data redacted.
submitted a report recommending that SCP-105 be reclassified as neutral, undergo amnestic treatment, and be released to the public with regular monitoring. This recommendation was denied. Following this, Dr.
Data redacted.
aided SCP-105 in a containment breach aiming to escape Foundation custody. This breach was unsuccessful and SCP-105 was recontained. See Incident X45-Site-17. Investigation afterwards determined that Dr.
Data redacted.
had intentionally encouraged SCP-105 to claim loss of anomalous abilities. SCP-105 re-demonstrated her anomalous abilities in exchange for restoration of limited privileges. Following the end of the Pandora's Box initiative, all Mobile Task Force Omega-7 teams were disbanded and SCP-105 was returned to Site-17. Because of the security risk she represents and lack of current utility, SCP-105 is presently not allowed access to SCP-105-B. All further information regarding Mobile Task Force Omega-7 is sealed by order of the Records and Information Security Administration. Director,
Data redacted.
Records and Information Security Administration. Addendum 4. Special Notice Re-Current Containment Status. Following Incident R1300-Site-17, many formal and informal reports have been made regarding SCP-105 and a supposed connection to Mobile Task Force Alpha-9. These reports constitute a serious breach of security. All information regarding Mobile Task Force Alpha-9 is restricted. All information regarding current research on anomalous characteristics of SCP-105 is restricted. All reports and rumors regarding any current or recent use of SCP-105 as a Foundation asset are to be considered categorically false, and should be reported to Records and Information Security Administration. Director,
Data redacted.
Records and Information Security Administration. If you're interested in hearing more about SCP-105, Iris, I would recommend listening to my series on the Resurrection series, or alternatively, looking up for yourself. I'll leave links to both in the description for whichever one you're looking for. The story in specific that it's referencing with Incident R1300-Site-17 is the Immediate Actions story. And other than that, the Resurrection series itself mostly covers the reasons for creation and all things surrounding Mobile Task Force Alpha-9. But without further ado, this is where we're going to be ending today. Thank you very much for coming, everyone. It's been a joy reading for you, and I hope to be able to see you all again in the future. Thank you for coming, and goodbye.